Pew, pew, pew. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Oh, halfway through our first week of e-learning. I hope you all are doing well. You're staying safe. You're staying, in touch with how you're feeling and, helping yourself when maybe you feel not the best and, rewarding yourself when you feel really good. So, really, really, really focus on you and yourself. And then on top of that, after that, we can focus a little bit on geometry. Okay, so today we're going to use those triangle congruence postulates and theorems we learned yesterday, and we, of course, have to do some proofs with them. All right, so the first thing that I think I'm going to do, since it's right off the bat of the video and maybe will be the most helpful for all of you as you work through these proofs, is to create a word bank. Okay, we've got a ton of things that could be listed as reasons, okay, and I'll write that up here, like possible reasons throughout our proof. And I always think, a lot of us tend to know exactly, what, like we know why something is like a reason, but we don't know the actual like postulate, theorem, yada yada yada. Okay, so I think this list will be good. So right off the bat, I'm just going to start with our postulates that we learned yesterday. I'm going to abbreviate. And then not a postulate, but the theorem of hypotenuse leg. So that's, remember, just with a right triangle. Hypotenuses are formed with right triangles. All right, and then we're also going to use things like reflexive property, we're going to use the definition of a midpoint, which we haven't used in a minute. We're going to use the definition of an angle bisector. We're always going to keep in mind our vertical angles. Let's see what else we've got here. Midpoint, reflexive, bisector, hypotenuse leg. Okay. I think that will honestly do it as I work through these first proofs that are our notes sections. If I come across another one, I will absolutely add it to our word bank. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to work through these first proofs. I think there are four that I'm going to do, and then you're going to start the practice, okay? So please, it says on the practice, if you get stuck, start watching this video, all right? It's only here to help you. You don't have to guess through it all right? Let me help you with my words, okay? So, I'm trying to get comfortable in my chair. Okay, so all we're given is like a T-table, all right? Statements on one side, reasons on the other. We absolutely always know the first statement, all right? In this case, it's E is the midpoint of BD and AC. And we know that because it was given to us. All right, now, one thing that I suggest is whenever we are given any information and we have a picture, mark that on the picture. So since E is the midpoint of BD and, BD and AC, okay, I know by the definition of a midpoint that E is going to cut AC into 2 equal halves, and E is also going to cut BD into 2 equal halves. So look what I did there. I just marked things that are congruent. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and write out what we just did. I stated that AE is congruent to CE by the definition of a midpoint. I stated that DE was congruent to BE by the definition of a midpoint. And then I'm trying to find one more thing that will absolutely prove that these triangles are congruent. So let's look at what we have. We have a side and then another side that are congruent. There's one more thing that we need to be congruent in order to use possibly one of our postulates, okay? So this is asking to prove congruency. So we're always going to look for a postulate. So is there any way we can state that DC and AB are congruent? This is kind of our thought process that I want us to think about. There's no way for me to say that. I don't absolutely know that. So it can't be side, side, side. Let's look at side, angle, side. Would the included angle between these two sides be congruent? Well, let's look. Is there some way that we know that angle DEC is congruent to angle AEB? Well, those are vertical angles. So yeah, absolutely they're congruent. So angle DEC is congruent to angle AEB. Why? Because they're vertical. And then last but not least, we're just going to write what we're trying to prove, that triangle CDE is congruent to triangle ABE. And we know that because we used the side, angle, side postulate. Cool? All right. Next video we'll have the next 3. Okay.